Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna. Whew, yeah. Continuing with this, practicing speaking, it's kind of like a video journal or a video diary. Like if I was keeping a diary or a journal, which is a good thing for a devotee to do, is to write down their realizations, things that happened during the day, like that. In Krishna consciousness, it's good to keep a journal or a diary. So we're in this age of multimedia, and my handwriting is absolutely terrible. I can't even read it the next day. So we have this way of, it's kind of like a video journal, and it's private. So that's what this is, I see now. It's a video journal. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I have an opportunity to solidify or to formulate realizations so they don't just float away in the mind and then disappear. By speaking them and reflecting on them and hearing from my spiritual master, this is kind of like private sessions with Prabhupada, hearing from Prabhupada, private sessions. I'm a slow student, so I need private tutoring. As a fact, very slow. So I'm getting private lessons. I'm being tutored. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So one thing that happened yesterday, and my immediate reactions were pretty harsh. So I posted them, and after a few minutes I realized, well, you can't put that up there because it's too harsh. It was the truth, but it was too harsh. It was too harsh. What happened was, there's a very nice devotee who's for many years done sculpting work and clay figures of Krishna, of different scenes from the Gita, of different devotees, and he's become quite expert in this art of like little murtis, or making these clay figures. Prabhupada encouraged him in that personally. He's very good at it. But lately he's been doing abstracts. They have like a sensual appeal to them, but they're abstract. And they're like studies in color and texture, but you don't see Krishna directly there. And I believe if the devotee were to put them on the market or have an exhibition, they would sell for quite high. But they're not exactly Krishna. There's something more sensual, materially sensual going on there. And he's kind of really getting into it. He's cranking them out now, two or three a week are coming out, these abstract kinds of, it's how you can't describe them. They're just kind of weird. And he's on a roll with them. So he posted some pictures of them yesterday, and I was just sort of checking Messenger and checking a few little things because I'm trying to avoid the social media community a little bit. But I was checking, just briefly looking at what was going on, and I got involved. and I saw his pictures of these abstracts, knowing the kinds of work he does, where he you can see the forms of the devotee, you can see the forms, and here were all these abstract, kind of strange things up there. And he was all excited about it. And a lot of devotees were on there praising him for his work. Oh, this is beautiful. Wow, you're really getting good. Oh, these are amazing. They're so earthy. They're so... And I said, where's Krishna? Where's Krishna in all of this? And someone replied to that comment saying, Krishna's the creativity in man. He's the creativity. There's Krishna. What isn't Krishna? And I was like, whoa. That was like, seemed to me, it's true, Krishna's the ability in man, but it seemed to have gone far adrift from actually glorifying Krishna. And there are so many people who are displaying their creativity, but where's Krishna? So I posted, seeing what was going on, I posted a picture, I got a picture from the web of the emperor's new suit of clothes. So the emperor, in that little story there, the emperor wants a fine suit of clothes, and a tailor comes and just glorifies his work and his materials he uses and his designs, and promises to make the most amazing, unique suit of clothes for the emperor. And so he presents nothing. And the emperor is standing there in his underwear. And the thing about the suit of clothes is that people who have fine tastes and are very intelligent, refined, will appreciate the suit of clothes. Others really won't. So the emperor doesn't want to appear unrefined and not intelligent. So he's standing there in his underwear. He says, oh, this is lovely. Oh, this is magnificent. I've never seen anything like this. And his attendants and his aides and his ministers and his secretaries, they're all going, yes, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. You have, because they all don't want to appear unintelligent, and then a little child comes and doesn't really care if he appears intelligent or what's that anyway, and says, wow, he's standing there with nothing on. Wow, look at that, the emperor's standing there in his underwear, and he's laughing. So I posted a picture of that, it was a little cartoon, and all these devotees are going, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, it's so abstract. Oh, it's so unique. Oh, it's so... And I said, where's Krishna? In other words, what is that? But I took it down immediately because I know the devotee. I don't want to... There's no sense to offend him or insult him. He's a wonderful devotee. And if he's getting a little sidetracked with this, then there's something there that he's exploring in his journey of Godhead. And Krishna, will, he has to do this. So there's no need for me to, alienate him or insult him or hurt him by saying something caustic, Because I'm performing a lot of austerities, and it can make makes the heart a little hard. And I realized, these austerities, it's making me a little hard-hearted. I can't be hard-hearted like that, So I took it down, just left it alone. He saw the comment, where's Krishna? And he did like a little like thing, where's Krishna? But the other thing about the emperor's suit of clothes and everything, I took that all down. And then I was still kind of on a roll with, this realization I had about man's creativity. And I found a picture of a very interesting pile of dog poop. You know, the dog poop, to me, some dog had pooped it and it looked like a Dairy Queen, you know, with the swirls on the top. It had a lot of things going on with this stool, dog stool. And it looked to me like some of the things he was producing. And it was the dog's creativity. So I posted that. I was going to avoid Facebook, but I was on a roll with this thing. I was getting some realizations. And my realizations are not wrong. It's just that the heart has to be soft. It can't be harsh. And I was hard-hearted in posting these things in a very glaring way. So I posted the picture of the dog poop and again went on and on about how man's creativity is like this. Man's creativity is like this. When people try to be creative, it's just poop. It's poop. Without Krishna, it's stool. They're just taking the material energy and fashioning it a certain way. But where's Krishna? So I ended up taking that down too. And I hope nobody saw it because I was hard-hearted. My realization is right. Whatever people try to do as far as creativity, their expression is just stool. That's the sum total of their creativity is passing a big pile of stool. Big pile of poop. But if the truth is presented out of hard-heartedness or harshness, then it doesn't, you're right, but you're also wrong. It has to be presented tactfully and with love so that the message can be seen and heard and not simply as some aggressive attacking, and that's what I tend to do. I see something, I see a truth, and then I'm harsh about it. So this is my lesson, how when I do see the truth in things, to not attack. And keep going on this path. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So I'm glad I took those down. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Yeah, I just went through that with a devotee that I was trying to establish a loving, trusting, friendly relationship with. And we were making some progress, a little bit here, a little bit there. I was helping them with things, and they gave me a few little gifts, and we were trying to develop a situation where devotees would be able to meet at my house, and they were already meeting at their house. And so we were seeing how to kind of work together. And I knew that they were very negative about many things, that they were fixing on Prabhupada, but to the exclusion of everybody else. That it was like no one else was really following Prabhupada like they were following Prabhupada. And so they have a lot of conspiracy stuff. They actually believe wholeheartedly that our spiritual master was poisoned. They really believe that. Where it's been proven forensically with hair samples and timelines and history that Prabhupada was not poisoned. He was not poisoned. Nobody nobody murdered our spiritual master. But this person is still convinced and has this fear and dread and doesn't trust anyone. So I was trying to break through that a little bit, and that fear and mistrust spreads to anyone who's the different gurus now who have disciples and are teaching devotional service, engaging their disciples in preaching work that spreads to them. They're all part of this conspiracy against Prabhupada. They've stolen Prabhupada's movement, on and on it goes. And so I was trying to come in a little close, and then it goes on about the vaccines, which is a big issue. The government also can't be trusted, and as if the government were an entity. The government isn't an entity. The government is a organizational structure made up of many individuals, some of whom are quite wonderful. Some we'd all be very happy not to have to deal with, but that's like that in any organization or any structure. But actually I've found the vast majority of people in the government, they're just nice people, and they sincerely have a service attitude. And that's their propensity, is to work as a public servant in government. So yeah, there's problems, of course. In any organizational structure, there's some that get in there that are, everyone would be very happy if they would just leave. It's like that. But this person is like black and white. It's the government itself is no good. The government itself, it's a structure. And that translates to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and the Governing Body Commission. It's all no good. No, there are individuals. Those are structures. You have to be able to distinguish the structures from the individuals. There are some wonderful individuals in ISKCON, wonderful, saintly people serving within that structure, made even more saintly by being able to serve within the structure, something I have not been able to do. I can't serve within that structure. They're great, wonderful individuals serving within that structure. And the Governing Body Commission, there are some that, I'm sure everyone would be very happy if they would gracefully retire. Hare Krishna. But there are individuals serving within the Governing Body Commission that are just wonderful devotees and sincere servants of our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. So I was trying to come in a little close with this person in a personal way, and the negativity was just too strong. It was complete negativity all the way around. It was like, I don't know if they could see anything actually good in anyone else's service except their own. I couldn't. Unless someone was serving in the way that they recognized, the way they were serving, then the others, there was nothing good there. I just couldn't, it was too much. It was too much. And I said something. I said, it's just too much negativity. You're too negative about everyone and everything. It's like, don't see anything good in anyone else. And they hit the roof. They took it as an attack. Because they're focused on Prabhupada. And if I don't agree with them, then I'm the enemy. And they just hit the roof, and they got like 3-page long text messages showing how bad I was and what was wrong with me, and it's like, oh. So I have to see that when I see something, how to be able to deal with it. When I see something like that, either the negativity or the pile of poop sculptures, not to attack. That is a lesson for me, and I continually, this has been a problem. When I see it, I just say it, and see something, say something. And the person, because it's part of their worldview, it's connected very much to their enthusiasm for serving. All this negativity is their enthusiasm for serving. That's like fuel for their motivation. It makes fear, and it makes anger, and it makes hate, and it's energy flowing, and that's like they're motivated by all of that to serve. And if I attack that root, what's with all the negativity? Then all that motivation, it has to go, and then so it's like attacking the root of how they're motivated, and they can't. No, they're not going to let it go. So I have to see how not to do that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So that was one yesterday about the pile of poop sculptures. Man's creativity without glorifying Krishna. Well, Krishna is accepting to one degree or another. He says, whatever you do, if you do it as an offering to me, I accept it. All you can do is produce a pile of poop, but you do it for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Anyway, that's my perception. Am I right about this? Well, I think so, because it's led to a higher realization of how not to aggressively speak to another disciple. It's led to that. So yes, then my perception is right because of the fruit that it bore. So I have to say yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So practicing in this kind of solitary, isolated way is something I really do need to do right now. Like, these videos are private, and it's August 4th, 2021, and I may 3 or 4 months from now post them, or I may not. But this is a video diary. Would somebody post their diary? If they kept a personal diary, would they post it? They might. But I find this very, very helpful. This is my diary. So, dear diary, let's study under the personal tutelage here of Srila Prabhupada. I'm getting a private class here, a private study. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The battle between Śālva and the members of the Yadu Dynasty. So Prabhupada's giving me a private class here. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachari Satarane. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The battle between Śālva and the members of the Yadu dynasty. While Sukadeva Goswami was narrating various activities of Lord Krishna in playing the role of an ordinary human being, he also narrated the story of the battle between the dynasty of Yadu and the demon of the name Śālva, who had managed to possess a wonderful airship named Soba. So the previous chapters was the Rajasuya sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhisthira and setting Duryodhana up for irreconcilable hatred of Krishna and Pandavas. The tipping point was when he wasn't very savvy about the illusions created by Maya, Danava, in creating Yudhisthira's palace. He was already envious that Yudhisthira had such a wonderful palace. The story was that the Pandavas were given a very tiny place to rule over. It was called Indraprastha. At one time, it had been a small kingdom there, but it had long since been gone, and it was all covered over by jungle, and everything was deteriorated. It was a ruins. And out of the kindness of his heart, Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra gave them Indraprastha to rule over. Well, what happened was Maharaj Yudhisthira transformed it into greater opulence than the king of heaven. It was a fantastic, it was fantastic place. And Duryodhana was very envious how he could do that. So when he was visiting and he mistook water for land, it was one of the illusions Mayadanava created for Maharaj Yudhisthira, and fell into the water. The queens of Krishna were all laughing. Because here he was, this really powerful, and he was very envious and angry all the time. He was always stiff and unrelenting, and then he fell in the water. He got all wet. And they were all laughing. Yudhisthira felt terrible, tried to make everybody stop laughing. But Krishna said, no, let them laugh. He was setting Duryodhana up for this bitterness and this hatred. So he was envious, he was angry, and now he was being laughed at. It was the last straw. So it was a setup for the battle that took place later. So he was telling that story, and then he told the story of Śālva. King Śālva was a great friend of Shishupal's. When Shishupal went to marry Rukmini, Śālva was one of the members of the bridegroom's party. That was where Krishna kidnapped Rukmini right out from under Shishupal's nose. Shishupal was supposed to be married to her, and Krishna kidnapped her. Śālva was there as a friend of Shishupal. When there was a fight between the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty and the kings of the opposite side, Śālva was defeated by the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. So they tried to stop Krishna, and Śālva was defeated. But despite his defeat, he made a promise before all the kings that he would in the future rid the whole world of all the members of the Yadu dynasty. So all this enmity is building. Duryodhana's angry. Shishupal's angry. Well, Shishupal's dead. Krishna killed Shishupal. Śālva's angry. Since his defeat in the fight during the marriage of Rukmini, he had maintained within himself an unforgettable envy of Lord Krishna, and he was in fact a fool because he had promised to kill Krishna. So here's another one, meditating on Krishna, but not devotionally. Usually such foolish demons take shelter of a demigod, like Lord Shiva, to execute their ulterior plans. And so Śālva, in order to get strength, took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, which is interesting because Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. So they're going to the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna to get the benediction to kill Krishna. Isn't that amazing how Krishna does that? He has to satisfy everyone's desires. That's what he does. So they have to go to a devotee of Krishna to get the power to kill Krishna. He underwent a severe type of austerity during which he would eat no more than a handful of ashes daily. Lord Shiva, the husband of Parvati, is generally very merciful, and he quickly becomes satisfied if someone undertakes severe austerities in order to please him. So after continued austerities by Śālva for 1 year, Lord Shiva became pleased with him, asked him to beg for the fulfillment of his desire. You're so determined. What is it that you want? Śālva begged from Lord Shiva the gift of an airplane, which would be so strong that it could not be destroyed by any demigod, demon, human being, Gandharva, Naga, or even by any Rakshasa. Moreover, he desired that the airplane be able to fly anywhere and everywhere he would like to pilot it, and he be specifically very dangerous and fearful to the dynasty of Yadu. He didn't ask for the ability to kill Krishna. He asked for a whole bunch of stuff, like Hiranyakashipu, when he was doing his austerities. He didn't ask to be eternal. Why? Because Lord Brahma couldn't grant that. Lord Brahma isn't even himself eternal. But he asked for a lot of other things that were kind of seemed to indicate that he was eternal. That he wouldn't be killed in the night. He wouldn't be killed in the day. He wouldn't be killed by a demon. He wouldn't be killed by a demigod. He wouldn't be like this. And he thought, I got all the bases covered. I wouldn't be killed on the land. I wouldn't be killed on water. I wouldn't be killed in the air. So Hiranyakashipu thought, yeah, I'm not going to be killed. So similarly, Śālva can't ask for the ability to kill Krishna because Lord Shiva can't give that. But he's asking for a lot of other stuff that kind of, okay, I'll be able to kill Krishna with all of this. He's asking for an airplane that it cannot be destroyed by any demigod, demon, human being, Gandharva, Naga, or even by any Rakshasa. Moreover, he desired that the plane be able to fly anywhere and everywhere he would like, and be very dangerous and fearful to the dynasty of the Yadus. Lord Shiva immediately agreed to give him the benediction, and Śālva took the help of the demon Maya to manufacture this iron airplane. It was an iron airplane. It was made out of iron, which was so strong and formidable that no one could crash it. It was a very big machine, almost like a big city, and it could fly so high and at such a great speed that it was almost impossible to see where it was, and so there was no question of attacking it. Although it might be dark outside, the pilot could fly it anywhere and everywhere. Having acquired such a wonderful airplane, Śālva flew it to the city of Dwarka, because his main purpose in obtaining the airplane was to attack the city of the Yadus, toward whom he maintained a continual feeling of animosity. Śālva thus not only attacked the city of Dwarka from the sky, but he also surrounded the city by a large number of infantry. The soldiers on the surface began to attack the beautiful spots of the city. They began to destroy the baths, the city gates, the palaces, and the skyscraper houses, the high walls around the city, and the beautiful spots where people would gather for recreation. While soldiers were attacking on the surface, the airplane began to drop big slabs of stone, tree trunks, thunderbolts, poisonous snakes, and many other dangerous things. It's like they didn't have bombs. They didn't have gunpowder. They didn't have nuclear bombs or atomic bombs. Although they could, by mantra, release a type of nuclear atomic weapon. But he's dropping really crude things. Big slabs of stone, tree trunks, thunderbolts, that's kind of an electric type weapon, poisonous snakes. What do they have today? They have nuclear weapons, they have biological weapons, they have some say even weather weapons. So they don't have poisonous snakes. He had poisonous snakes, many other dangerous things. Śālva also managed to create such a strong whirlwind within the city that all of Dwarka became dark because of the dust that covered the city. Wow, it's really nasty. Trying to see what's going on here. Destroying the beautiful baths and the gates, palaces, the skyscraper houses, the walls around the city, and the places for recreation. The beautiful spots of the city, like the gardens. And then he's dropping all this stuff. Stones, tree trunks, poisonous snakes, thunderbolts. And he created a whirlwind. So the whole area is being covered, dust that covered the sky. The airplane occupied by Śālva put the entire city of Dwarka into distress, equal to that caused on earth long, long ago by the disturbing activities of Tripura. I can't remember exactly, but evidently, Tripura. The inhabitants of Dwarkapuri became so harassed that they were not in a peaceful condition for even a moment. Well, yeah. The great heroes of Dwarka city, headed by commanders such as Pradyumna, counteracted the soldiers and the airplane of Śālva. When he saw the extreme distress of the citizens, Pradyumna immediately arranged his soldiers and personally got upon a chariot, encouraging the cities by assuring safety. Following his command, many warriors like Satyaki, Charadeshna, and Samba, all young brothers of Pradyumna, as well as Akrura, Kritavarma, Bhanuvinda, Gada, Shuka, and Sharana, all came out of the city to fight with Śālva. All of them were great fighters. Each one could fight with thousands of men. All were fully equipped with necessary weapons and assisted by hundreds and thousands of charioteers, elephants, horses, and infantry soldiers. assisted by hundreds and thousands of charioteers, elephants, horses, infantry, soldiers. Hundreds of thousands. Fierce fighting began between the two parties, exactly as was formerly carried on between the demigods and the demons. The fighting was very severe. Whoever observed the fierce nature of the fight felt his hair stand on end. Pradyumna immediately counteracted the mystic demonstration occasioned by the airplane of Śālva, the king of Soba. So the airplane is called Soba, and it was like a city. It was as big as a city. So he's called the king of Soba. Śālva. By the mystic power of the airplane, Śālva had created a darkness as dense as night. But Pradyumna all of a sudden appeared like the rising sun. As with the rising of the sun, the darkness of night is immediately dissipated. So with the appearance of Pradyumna, the power exhibited by Śālva became null and void. Each and every one of Pradyumna's arrows had a golden feather at the end, and the shaft was fitted with a sharp iron edge. By releasing 25 such arrows, Pradyumna severely injured Śālva's commander-in-chief. He then released another 100 arrows toward the body of Śālva. After this, he pierced each and every soldier by releasing 1 arrow, and he killed the chariot drivers by firing 10 arrows at each of them. The carriers, like the horses and elephants, were killed by the release of 3 arrows directed toward each one of them. When everyone present on the battlefield saw this wonderful feat of Śālva, the great fighters on both sides began to praise his acts of chivalry. So Pradyumna's presence dissipated the darkness created by Śālva. That light is simply, darkness is simply the absence of light. That's what darkness is. It's the absence of light. And Pradyumna, being the direct son of Krishna and Rukmini, Krishna and the goddess of fortune, Pradyumna is the direct son. He's brilliant and effulgent like his father. So when he appeared, it was exactly like the sun appearing to dissipate the darkness. But still, the airplane occupied by Śālva was very mysterious. It was so extraordinary that sometimes there would appear to be many airplanes, and sometimes it would be seen that there were none. Sometimes it was visible, sometimes not visible. The warriors of the Yadu dynasty became puzzled about the whereabouts of the peculiar airplane. So sometimes it looked like there were a lot of airplanes, and then sometimes there was no airplane. Sometimes they would see the airplane on the ground, and sometimes they would see it flying in the sky. Sometimes they would see the airplane resting on the peak of a hill, and sometimes it was floating on the water. The wonderful airplane was flying in the sky like a firefly in the wind. It was not steady even for a moment. But despite the mysterious maneuvering of the airplane, the commanders and soldiers of the Yadu dynasty would immediately rush toward Śālva wherever he was present with his airplane and soldiers. The arrows released by the dynasty of the Yadus were as brilliant as the sun and as dangerous as the tongues of serpents. All the soldiers fighting on behalf of Śālva became soon distressed by the incessant release of arrows upon them by the heroes of the Yadu dynasty, and Śālva himself became unconscious from the attack of these arrows. The soldiers and the fighters fighting on behalf of Śālva were also very strong, and the release of their arrows also harassed the heroes of the Yadu dynasty. But still the Yadus were so strong and determined that they did not move from their strategic positions. The heroes of the Yadu dynasty were determined to either die in the battlefield or gain victory. They were confident of the fact that if they would die in the fighting, they would attain a heavenly planet, and if they would come out victorious, they would enjoy the world. The name of Śālva's commander-in-chief was Juman. He was very powerful, and although bitten by 25 of Pradyumna's arrows, he suddenly attacked Pradyumna with his fierce club and struck him so strongly that Pradyumna became unconscious. Immediately there was a roar. "Now he is dead! Now he is dead!" The force of the club on the chest of Pradyumna was very severe, enough to tear asunder the chest of an ordinary man. Pradyumna's chariot was being driven by the son of Daruka. According to Vedic military principles, the chariot driver and the hero on the chariot have to cooperate during the fighting. As such, it was the duty of the chariot driver to take care of the hero on the chariot during the dangerous and precarious fighting on the battlefield. Thus, Daruka removed the body of Pradyumna from the battlefield. 2 hours later, in a quiet place, Pradyumna regained his consciousness, and when he saw he was in a place other than the battlefield, he addressed the charioteer and condemned him. So, reading this now, to gain these impressions, later during the day, I'll be able to remember what I read, be able to visualize this event, spiritual event. Pradyumna appearing like the sun amidst the darkness, the fighting that went on, the airplane, Śālva's attacks, what happened to Dwarka, the different soldiers on the side of Pradyumna, and now Pradyumna becoming unconscious. I'll be able to remember this and meditate in Krishna consciousness during the day. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, hearing, chanting, remembering. Worshipping, offering prayers. Making friends with. Serving the lotus feet. Carrying out the orders. And offering everything one has. It starts with hearing and chanting, remembering. Hearing, chanting, remembering. Hearing, chanting, remembering. So, hearing, chanting, remembering. During the day, remembering. Chanting also, but hearing, chanting, remembering. So a couple more paragraphs in this chapter. So Pradyumna has regained his consciousness, and he says to the son of Daruka, who took him off the battlefield, "Oh, you've done the most abominable act. Why have you moved me from the battlefield? My dear charioteer, I have never heard that anyone in our family was ever removed from the battlefield. None of them left the battlefield while fighting. By this removal you have overburdened me with a great defamation. It will be said that I left the battlefield while fighting was going on. My dear charioteer, I must accuse you. You are a coward and emasculator. Tell me, how can I go before my uncle Balaram and before my father Krishna? What shall I say before them? Everyone will talk about me and say, I fled from the fighting place. And if they inquire from me about this, what will my reply be? My sister-in-law will play jokes with me with sarcastic words. My dear hero, how have you become such a coward? You have become a eunuch. How have you become so low in the eyes of the fighters who oppose you? I think, my dear charioteer, that you have committed a great offense by removing me from the battlefield. He's thinking, everyone's going to laugh at me. This does not befit, which is the exact words Krishna used to convince Arjuna to fight. Arjuna wanted to leave the battlefield. And Krishna, everyone will laugh at you. They'll scorn your ability. You'll be the butt of jokes. You can't leave the battlefield. You have to fight. So here, it's the Kshatriya thing. So, I think, my dear charioteer, you have committed a great offense by removing me from the battlefield. Now everybody's going to laugh at me. And I'll be the butt of jokes. The charioteer Pradyumna replied, My dear sir, I wish a long life for you. I think I did not do anything wrong, as it is the duty of the charioteer to help the fighter in the chariot when he's in a precarious condition. My dear sir, you are completely competent in battlefield activities. It is the mutual duty of the charioteer and the warrior to give protection to each other in precarious condition. I was completely aware of the regulative principles of fighting, and I did my duty. The enemy all of a sudden struck you with his club so severely that you lost consciousness. You are in a dangerous position, surrounded by your enemies. Therefore, I was obliged to act as I did. So it wasn't Pradyumna that decided to leave the battlefield. It was his charioteer. So Pradyumna is off the hook. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 70th chapter, 76th chapter, the battle between Śālva and members of the Yadu dynasty. So today, this was hearing and chanting, and then during the day, I can practice remembering this wonderful battle that took place, this wonderful airplane, and this wonderful offspring of Krishna, Pradyumna, who is he's as good as his father. Pradyumna is as good as his father. Like father, like son. Hare Krishna, the son of Krishna and Rukmini. Rukmini is, all the queens are actually expansions of Radha that accompany Krishna in his Dwarka Leela. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Pradyumna himself is an incarnation of Cupid, the god of love. So, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, something to meditate on today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.